People want their subjective preferences to be the objective reality.
You can't handle the truth!
Let's get ready to rumble!
Wow, what a night of boxing we had last night. Anthony Joshua has been dethroned as the unified heavyweight champion of the world by Andy Ruiz. Listen, first thing I want to say is congratulations to Andy Ruiz Jr., the new unified heavyweight champion of the world. Thoroughly deserved his victory. Look, what a performance. What a performance. Listen, I said AJ should have won this fight in 6 rounds. You know, this is a fight he should win. He has to beat Andy Ruiz, and he needs to look good doing it. But hats off to Andy Ruiz. I said Andy Ruiz is a good little boxer, but I still think AJ should win this fight. But you know what? Andy Ruiz, great performance against Anthony Joshua, and there are no real excuses. Even AJ wasn't making any excuses. It was a poor performance by Anthony Joshua, simple as that. You know, and I kind of, before I go into the fight and my breakdown of what I was seeing last night, I was going to do a video last night, but then I thought, while I'm watching it, I was so caught into the excitement and the hype and the enjoyment of the fight that I felt, you know what, I'm not going to give it full justice if I do one of these quick reaction videos. And I thought, you know what, I'd rather kick back, watch the fight again and really break it down and try and pick out the things where I think definitely Anthony Joshua went wrong. But the things that Ruiz was doing, you know, right on the night as well. Let's not forget about that. This is a celebration of a guy that, you know, a real underdog, a real Rocky Balboa story, in my opinion. You know, the fat kid eating Snicker bars, who, you know, everyone counted out. You know, there's very few people saying that he was going to win the fight, or they felt Ruiz was going to do a number on AJ, and, you know, he proved everyone wrong. You know, so congratulations to him. Now, before I get into the fight itself, I kind of want to talk about the ring entrances and the introductions, walk-ins, etc. and stuff like that. So if we start with the walk, you know, I felt Ruiz definitely looked quietly confident, a little bit nervous, but not nervous to the point where I felt he wasn't in control of his emotions or where his mental focus was, etc. and stuff like that. So I felt he was relatively comfortable with those few quiet nerves that you usually get. Anthony Joshua, in my opinion, looked a little bit different. In my opinion, I think he looked extremely nervous walking into the ring. I felt he looked uncomfortable, and I think that's because he's out of his comfort zone, which is obviously the UK, and he was fighting in America and probably didn't feel at home as much. You know, when you look at Anthony Joshua before he came out to America, he didn't want to come out to America, let's be honest. You know, and I'm not trying to knock him or anything like that, but I'm being honest with my analysis here. He never wanted to come to America. You know, we've seen him in ring interviews saying that, no, we don't need to go to America. We've built something here in the UK. It's, you know, there's no, before fighters had to go to America, but they don't have to go to America anymore. We could stay right here. We're staying right here. You know, when it came to the $50 million offer from Wilder, he did an interview with The Sun, I think it was, on stage. I can't remember where it was. I remember I played it a few times, and you know, he was saying that he was suspect of the judges and the referees, and you know, he wants to fight at home with Wilder because, you know, he wants to be where he's secure. And I think that's a big statement for me back then, what he said, and it kind of showed in this fight a lack of belief and a lack of confidence because he was not at home in his comfort zone. You know, that statement alone to The Sun when he did that, when he said he wanted to be at home where he was secure, you know, that says it all. I think there was a real lack. I feel he felt probably quite insecure in America. Yeah, I think there was insecurities, I think there was a lack of confidence, and there was a lack of belief because he wasn't at home. Even with 12,000 Brits traveling to watch this fight at Madison Square Garden, he still did not feel at home. He still didn't feel comfortable whatsoever. That's one thing I want to say. When you look in the ring, I felt AJ was showing some serious signs of nerves. You know, playing with the gum shield, kept popping it out, kept jolting it up and down in between his teeth. during the intros and the announcements and the national anthems and stuff like that. Looked unfocused. I don't know if he looked unfocused. Yeah, I probably would say he was unfocused, because I feel the moment, the stress of the moment, the pressure of the moment probably got to him, and that's an important key part. Yeah, you got to be able to handle the pressure at that level. And remember boxing, guys. Remember, not just boxing, anything in life, anything you do in life, yeah, is always going to be 20% physical, 80% mental. Yeah, and I just feel like there were clear signs even before the first bell had rang that he was uncomfortable. Yeah, that he wasn't fully engaged or focused, or I don't know whether the pressure of the whole event and going to America got to him. And this is not me making excuses, guys, for him. Yeah, this is me, because there are no excuses, because as an elite level world champion, if you're the best fighter in the world, which is what Eddie Hearn claims him to be, the best heavyweight, the best fighter, the biggest superstar on the planet, you should be able to handle those moments. And if you can't handle those moments, then there's a serious problem. Yeah, it's part of the game. You should be able to handle those moments. Yeah, it's that simple. It looked like to me he didn't want to be there, and then when his name was being announced, he was looking down. The other thing was, when he was being announced, actually, he was leaning into the corner, had this look on his face like kind of thing. Someone was massaging the back of his neck. And then when he was finally being announced, like his name was going to be announced, he was looking down at the floor, kind of did this thing with his gloves, put it on his eyes, and then reached out and like trying to convincingly tell everyone, yeah, I'm here, I'm the champ. But it wasn't convincing. There were clear signs of insecurity and a lack of confidence and belief in himself from Anthony Joshua before the bell had even rang, in my opinion. So let's talk about the fight itself. And the first thing I noticed, which was the first thing I noticed in my analysis of his last fight against Povetkin, was AJ fighting small, coming down to Ruiz's height, and it was exactly what he did against Alexander Povetkin. Coming down to his opponent's height, who's shorter than him. Remember, AJ's 6'6", Ruiz is 6'2". AJ has a reach of 82, Ruiz has a reach of 74. Okay, and he's coming down to his height. Yeah, making it easier for the smaller guy with the shorter reach to land his punches. Yeah, to be able to get on the inside, to be able to look you in the eye. Yeah, to be able to get around your punches, around your guard. Yeah, if he is fighting tall and standing tall and using his range, Ruiz would have found it very difficult to throw those short hands of his, those short arms of his, and land such punches. And again, he made the same mistake in this fight that he did against Alexander Povetkin. Coming down low, jabbing to the stomach, yeah, leaving yourself open. But not only that, when he came down and he's jabbing to the stomach, but he's also coming down and jabbing to Andy Ruiz's head. And then when he's throwing that right of his, in like a 1-2, or he's throwing that straight right, he's overextending himself. Ruiz is a good counter puncher, steps to the side, and there were opportunities all night long for Ruiz to throw that counter left hook, yeah, around to the right side of Anthony Joshua's. All night long. Same thing he did against Povetkin, leaving himself wide open in that way. The first round, I have to be honest, Ruiz didn't probably capitalize on that as much, but he did later on in the fight, as we all know. The one thing I've noticed about Anthony Joshua is a mid to short range combination puncher. He cannot fight from range. When he tries to fight from range, he doesn't land as much, he's not as accurate as much. He has trouble, in my opinion, he has trouble measuring that distance from range. So that's why he likes to get in on the inside, get down low, shorten it up, and punch combinations, short combinations from mid to close range, because that's where he generates his powers. If you look at his fights and you look at his knockouts, most of his knockouts, they've come from mid to close range because he's shortened it up and he's thrown combinations from the inside and exploded with power. So, in my opinion, he's not a good distance fighter. Fighting from distance is what I mean, yeah? And using that reach and that height of his. Ultimately, in my opinion, Anthony Joshua, when he fights short to mid-range like that, it's his greatest strength, but it's also his greatest weakness. Yeah, he can knock you out and cause some serious damage from that situation, which I'll talk about as we go on. But at the same time, what else he does is he leaves himself open and he leaves himself vulnerable, especially to the shorter guy. Yeah, and we saw what happened in this fight. And when you look at it, when you go into the second round, right, this continued, I felt, yeah. He was getting caught because he was dropping down to Ruiz's height. Yeah, to me, he looked a little bit confused in that second round. He was finding it difficult to work out, you know, Ruiz's rhythm. You know, but Ruiz was really good at feinting and, you know, using his front foot to feint and using his body and doing, you know, getting his hands up to his chin and, you know, moving side to side and a little bit of head movement, and that was enough to kind of throw AJ off his game, in my opinion, and he was reluctant to probably throw punches at Ruiz because, you know, he's kind of second guessing himself, like, should I, shouldn't I, that kind of thing. And so, you know, hats off to Ruiz because he did a really good job at feinting, you know, AJ really well, in my opinion. So that knockdown in the third round of Andy Ruiz, that came because, again, AJ's greatest strength, in my opinion, is when he fights close to mid-range, shortens up the distance, and short combination bursts followed up with a power punch. And that's exactly what happened. It was a little a right uppercut, a little one, and then he finished with that left hook. And that knocked Ruiz down. Credit to Ruiz, you know, he took it on the chin, got back up, and came back firing, of course. But then that knockdown of Anthony Joshua, the first one out of the four, again, like I said, AJ's greatest strength is also his greatest weakness, right? He was knocked down because it was short range again. It was a left hook to the temple, which wobbled him, and then it was a right to the top of the head, top of the front of the head, which put him down. Now, the thing that I was frustrated with AJ was when he got back up, instead of jabbing Ruiz to the head, because there was a bit of distance between them, instead of jabbing him to the head and using his height, tucking his chin in and keeping his right hand close to his chin and his left side of his chin close to his shoulder, and just jabbing and trying to keep him at bay by jabbing him to the head and using his height, instead he starts to go low, jab to the stomach, low, jab to the stomach, yeah, which was the worst thing he could have done, which would give Ruiz that opportunity to punch over AJ's jab, which Ruiz, by the way, had no problem doing that whatsoever. You know, and again, AJ leaving himself exposed when he's at his most vulnerable state, where he's been wobbled, he's been rocked, his legs have gone, and he's going down low, punching to the stomach, saying, come on, hit me over the top. But when you wanted AJ to stand tall, he didn't stand tall. And when you didn't want him to stand tall, he stood tall. And when he did stand tall, he was leaning back with his chin in the air. You know, when Ruiz would come in for the attack, he would lean right back, stand up tall, and put his chin right up in the air for Ruiz to hit. Okay, and this obviously led to the second knockdown. You know, he needs to learn to keep his hands up high, keep them tight when he's in that situation. And when Ruiz comes in, he needs to learn how to hold. You know, not trying to engage with him and trying to get into a war with him or a tussle with him. He needs to learn how to hold. What I liked in the fourth round from Ruiz was that he was very patient. Yeah, very clever, very patient. Paulie Marlaji was saying, go for it, you need to go for it now. Even I was kind of thinking, like, go for it, don't let him rest, don't let him recover. But he was smart, he was confident in his abilities and his boxing skills, and he was trying to get AJ, he was trying to time AJ and getting AJ to commit so he can get those counter punches, because he knew he'd hurt AJ. He knew he'd wobbled AJ, he could tell AJ hadn't recovered, and he wasn't going to rush in there, he wasn't going to be getting all crazy, he was going to be patient, he was going to be methodical, and he was going to wait for the right opportunities, and I have to give him credit for that. Like I said, he didn't rush it, took his time, won the round. If there an opportunity came where he could go for, you know, another good combination or a knockout opportunity or a knockdown opportunity, he would have taken it, but he was very methodical and waiting and patient with his strategy, right? He was punching AJ under his punches as well, so when he's throwing that jab, he was getting underneath AJ's reach and popping it to the stomach, to the body. You know, really smart, just landing clean shots, making sure he won the round, but Also looking for those opportunities if he could take advantage of AJ again. AJ in that round definitely was not recovered, you know, definitely not focused, was just, you know, happy to try and survive that round, to be honest with you. You know, in the 5th round, good movement from Ruiz, good feints from Ruiz, you know, making AJ second guess himself. AJ didn't know whether to go, whether to stay. He looked very confused. And I am going to talk about, after I've talked about the rounds, I'm going to talk about what was going on in AJ's corner, of course, as well. But, you know, definitely was unsure of himself. Didn't know what he was doing in there. There was a real lack of boxing intelligence, ring intelligence from Anthony Joshua, in my opinion. You know, AJ, you know, there was a moment where he wipes the blood from his nose, didn't look focused, looking at his glove, looking at the blood, and like, you know, you got this guy in front of you who's looking to take your head off, and you're worried about a bit of blood coming out your nose. So just shows his mentality at that time, where his mind state was. Again, AJ in the 5th round, punching to the body, dropping low, jabbing to the body, throwing rights to the body, but from a low position. Yeah, but then Ruiz took that as an opportunity. He was punching over AJ's punches. You know, even when AJ was standing up a little bit, he would look for a good opportunity to punch over with a slight overhand right to land his punches, land those scoring punches and win rounds. So again, smart, intelligent boxing from Andy Ruiz. Opening of the 6th round, in the early part of the 6th round, AJ throws a combination of shots. Again, finishing with the right hand, but overextending himself. And Ruiz again steps out to the left, throws a counter left hook, but lucky for AJ, it's kind of like bounced off his shoulder. If that had landed a clean flush on, you know, the jaw, that's it, would have been over. There were examples of Anthony Joshua going low, trying to land punches to the body, throw straight rights and stuff like that, but from a short, low position, you know, and Ruiz would just come over those punches, you know, and land good scoring punches. You know, there was towards the end of the fight, I think the second half of that round, sorry, not the fight, the second half of the 6th round, AJ had his hands down. He was just letting Ruiz land jabs and straight rights, combinations from head body at will. You know, throw a jab to the body and then finish on top with a jab, or throw a jab to the body of AJ and then come with a straight right. You know, he was just letting Ruiz hit him at will. AJ was completely gassed out, didn't have anything left in the tank, in my opinion, which is being a problem with AJ. You know, AJ usually gasses out in the first half of all of his fights. And that showed in the 7th round. You know that saying, never hook with a hooker? Well, that's exactly what Anthony Joshua did. But at the same time, like I said to you at the beginning of the video, Anthony Joshua's greatest strength is his greatest weakness. He's a short to mid-range combination puncher who likes to come in low and fight on the inside. So what he did was he threw his left hook, but he threw it with Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz landed his left hook, which led to that 3rd knockdown. But instead of holding Ruiz and, you know, trying to just survive the round, what he ends up doing is that he ends up punching with Ruiz, leaves himself wide open, which led to the 4th knockdown. And that's the one where he spat out his gum shield. And why did he spit out his gum shield? Because he wanted to give himself more time to recover, thinking that the referee would grab the gum shield, go to his corner, wash it out, put it in his mouth, give him a bit more time, right? But that backfired big time. He got up, he walked to the corner. The ref said, as he was walking, he said, "Hey, turn around." Yeah, he didn't turn around. When he did turn around, he was standing in the corner. Ref says, "Let's go." Okay? And he says, "You want a box?" AJ nods his head, say, yep. Ref says, "Fight." He's telling him, "That's it, fight, come on, let's go, you want a box, fight." You know, and then AJ looks at him like, goes, "What?" And he goes, and because he says to him again, "Fight," and he goes, "All right, that's it, you're done." You didn't respond. So a lot of people are trying to make this excuse like, oh, the referee and all. No. It was a good stoppage. Yeah, you're supposed to get up, stand, be where you are. A referee will look at you, grab your gloves and say, "You okay? You good to fight? All right, walk towards me. Yeah, hold your hands up. All right, let's go." AJ turned around, walked away. He went up, the ref went up to him, asked him, "Do you want a box?" He said yes. He said, "Okay, fight." He didn't come out of the corner. Looked at the referee saying, "What?" He says, "Fight, box." Again, doesn't respond to the referee. The referee takes one look at him and says, "Yeah, you're not all there. It's over." You know, so a very good stoppage by the referee in my opinion. If the ref had allowed it to continue, I reckon AJ would have got knocked clean out. Have to agree with Paulie Malignaggi as well, because he was commentating for Sky Sports, and what Paulie Malignaggi was saying was that he feels that Andy Ruiz had duped everyone. Yeah, He conned everyone. This nice guy who was just happy to be there, happy for the opportunity. Oh, AJ, take a picture with me. Oh, AJ, I want to give you a high five. Oh, AJ, can I take a picture with your belts? Yeah, sure, mate, go ahead. You know, AJ, let's take another picture. You know, definitely some mind games being played there, in my opinion, and they worked. They worked. You know, boxing, like everything in life, is psychology. You know, and some fighters will get in your head and trash talk you, like Jermell, for example, who I felt definitely got inside of AJ's head, despite his drug cheating and all that stuff. Let's be honest, he did get in AJ's head. But at the same time, I think Ruiz took a different approach, which was, let me get you to drop your guard. Let me get you to think I'm this nice guy, and you're going to walk through me and all this sort of stuff. And I think it worked. It definitely worked. You know, AJ says he takes every fight seriously. I would have to agree with that, but at the same time, I definitely feel the pressures of being in America, making his debut in America, and don't get me wrong, these aren't excuses. These are all part of the game. If you're going to fight at that elite level, if you want to be at that Floyd Mayweather elite level of boxing, yeah, then you have to deal with these pressures and these moments in boxing, yeah. And I personally think AJ crumbled under pressure, you know. And let's not forget, I talked about in Back the Ropes, Anthony Joshua got himself a sports psychologist for this fight, because he said training was effing him over. You know, we've seen the black eye from sparring. You know, I personally think the pressure got to him. And you got to remember what he said recently as well. He said that he's more than happy to fight Deontay Wilder in 2 years. He's actually glad that Deontay Wilder's made a fight with Luis Ortiz. He said, I would rather fight, I'll link the articles in the description of the video, but he said, I would rather fight Wilder in 2 years, because Wilder will be older and I will only get better. Okay, which I don't know whether that's the case now. I don't know how it's going to go on for AJ. We'll have to wait and see. But that says it all. You know, the whole pressure. He said, the only reason I was chasing Wilder is because the fans were putting pressure on me to do so. He didn't want to chase Wilder because he didn't want the fight. He's happy to take that fight in 2 years from now. He said that himself. I will link it in the description of the video. You can read it for yourselves. Yeah, actually, hold on a second. Let me show you a screenshot of it. He also talked about in that article about how he had been pushed too early in his professional career. You know, even his amateur success, winning the gold medal, and then pushed and moved too quickly through the professional ranks. You know, not giving himself the opportunity to learn, and all these things were coming out in this article. And I've been saying this for such a long time. I said, this guy's been rushed. You rushed him too quickly. Eddie Hearn, you know, he saw a gold mine. He thought he saw a gold mine, a potential to make a lot of money, and he pushed it too quickly. You know, and when a fighter starts talking like that, saying I was pushed too early, it was too quick for me, you know, I'm actually not ready for Deontay Wilder, you know, I would rather take that fight in 2 years because he'll be older and I'll get better in 2 years. You know, I was only chasing Deontay Wilder because of the pressure that was being put onto me by the fans and the public, etc. You know, that says it all. Says it all. But look, in my opinion, Anthony Joshua, his performances have been on a decline. I've said this before, since the victory over Vladimir Klitschko. The performance against Carlos Takam, was it Carlos Takam first? You know, that wasn't great. Fought Joseph Parker, that wasn't a great performance. Fought Povetkin, yes, nice knockout. The knockout was great, but the actual overall performance was poor. And in this fight against Ruiz, he got that fine. All of that stuff that I've been talking about finally got exposed through a loss. It just shows to me that Anthony Joshua wasn't ready for this step change. And in my opinion, and again, this is not me trying to knock him, I'm just being honest with you, yeah? He wasn't ready for this step change. He wasn't ready for this level of pressure. And the pressure definitely got to him, and it affected him on the night. You know, it definitely did. You know, he couldn't handle it. But saying that, at the same time, he looked relieved. When he lost the fight in the ring, yeah, from his face, he just looked relieved, like the weight of the world had been lifted off his shoulder. Yeah, it looked like that to me. He's like, yeah, like, I can breathe now, you know what I mean? There's no more pressure on me, no expectation of me in a sense, because I got beat here and, okay, that's it. That level of pressure has kind of come off me. But what does come with it is that people are going to be talking about this a lot and he's going to have to hear it a lot. And that pressure is going to come back at some point too. So it's how does he go about dealing with this going forward? Because if he allows it to burn him up going forward, you know, he's always going to have this problem. So let's quickly touch on what was going on in his corner. You know, he's been told by his own corner, don't drop down to Ruiz's height, don't give him those opportunities, etc. Don't hook with him yet, you know, keep your chin down. But it was, what was more worrying is what AJ was saying in that corner. He looked lost and confused and like, I don't want to be here right now, get me out of here. Yeah, AJ asking, what should I do now? What shot was it that knocked me down? You know, being told basic things like keep your hands up. You know, AJ, he looked confused. He didn't know what to do. You know, needed constant reassurance from his corner. You know, okay, but what should I do now? What do you want me to do now? You know, etc. and things like that. Like, it was very amateurish and novice-like of AJ. To be honest with you, I've never seen that from him in the corner before. You know, also asking himself, you know, towards, you know, I think it was the 6th round. It was the 6th round, I think it was. You know, the break between the 6th and the 7th, right? Okay, and he said something that was really funny. Why am I feeling like this? You know, even like what shot caught me. I think he said what shot I caught him or caught me. I couldn't catch that last bit, but it was just really weird from AJ. Did not look comfortable whatsoever. Every time he went to the corner, you could tell Rob McCracken and the rest of the team were like, come on man, get it together. And you know, he definitely wasn't all there. I think the pressure definitely succumbed to the pressure of the moment of going to America and things like that. There was, yeah, you know, that's why the sports psychologist was brought in, right? But despite that, I have to admit, AJ showed some real class in defeat, you know, no excuses. And to be fair, he couldn't make any excuses. There were no reasons for that poor performance. He should have got in there, and Ruiz was a guy he should have beat, and he didn't beat him. And Ruiz was the better man, the better boxer, the more intelligent boxer. To me, you know, definitely was showing the better skill sets at times as well, surprisingly. But Ruiz thoroughly deserved his victory. You know, he was the better man on the night, the better fighter on the night. And AJ showed real class though, I have to admit that. He showed real class, a credit to him for that, you know. Didn't take too long with the interview, just said a few words, respect to you, Ruiz, etc. And I'll be seeing you again soon. Yeah, and when he was asked questions, he goes, no, don't talk to me. No, I'm going to get out of here. This is his moment, you know. So credit to him for that. Who saw AJ's dad in the ring while the Ruiz interview was going on? And he was having a real pop at Eddie Hearn. He turned around and he was having such a go at Eddie Hearn, like laying into Eddie Hearn. Yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't know if he was blaming Eddie Hearn for the loss or for whatever reasons, but he was seriously laying into Eddie Hearn. AJ was like, no, it's my fault, Dad. It's my fault. Yeah, but he kept turning around and laying into him, and eventually he walked off. But Eddie Hearn, like, just stood there and took it, of course. But that was interesting. Like, he had a real pop at him. I thought that was actually really funny. Okay, so what next for Anthony Joshua? Well, you would think immediately he wants the rematch, right? But the way he was talking in his post-fight interviews and press conferences, he was like, well, I have to ask the boss. Eddie Hearn, he referred to as the boss. Yeah, you got to ask questions there, right? So when you're turning around and saying that I've got to ask the boss, yeah, are you truly the boss of your career? Or is it just made to look like you are the boss of your career and you're in charge? Because he looked at me and said, we've got to ask the boss here. What's next for me? Who's next? You know, so that was interesting to hear that. Ask the boss. Very interesting. But at the same time, what was interesting was what AJ was saying. He was like, you know, 1 minute he was in two minds. And don't get me wrong, he was just coming off a defeat, crying out loud. So he's probably he hasn't got the right train of thought going just yet. You know, it's all fresh for him. But he was saying, like, I still want those Wilder Fury fights, but I want my belts back. But I might fight this guy, go and do this next. So, you know, or we might have the rematch next. You know, he was saying a lot of mixed messages. But like I said, he probably needs a day or two to clear his head and really figure it all out. But he needs to have that rematch. You You know, like he said it in himself in interviews after the fight. You know, those belts were my power. And now he's lost that power. He's lost that invincibility as well. Let's not forget that. That invincibility, like similar to other fighters in the last few years, like Sergey Kovalev against Andre Ward. Lost that invincibility in the first fight, got crushed in the second fight. You know, AJ's lost his invincibility in his first fight. You know, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. You know, we'll have to wait and see. It's hard to judge right now how he's going to come back from it. But remember this, yeah, and I've said this from day one. When it comes to the heavyweight division especially, one punch can change the whole dynamics of a fight. Yeah? Even a lucky punch. And I'm not saying Ruiz was a lucky punch. Ruiz was not lucky. But sometimes you get these fights where guys get knocked down and it's a lucky punch. Or it's an opportunity appeared that even though they were getting beaten, their heads beaten off, there was an opportunity to land a perfect punch, and they did. And they win the fight. You know, that's the heavyweight division for you. But not only that, I've said it for years. Boxing fans need to let go of this whole thing. Oh, you ain't shit if you haven't got your O anymore. Yeah? One loss doesn't mean it's over. Look at some of the greatest names in boxing. Muhammad Ali, considered the greatest by everyone. Right? Sugar Ray Robinson's the greatest in my eyes, but in most people's eyes, Muhammad Ali is the greatest. Alright? How many times did he lose? How many times did my favourite fighter of all time, Robinson, lose? Countless numbers of times. Leonard, Duran, Hearn, Hagler. You know, you can go on. Fraser. You know, the list goes on and on and on of these great names. But what made them great was how they came back from defeat. You know, in the face of adversity, what did they do? You know, did they come back and show the full heart and show the heart of a champion? Or did they crumble under the pressure when they did try to come back? That tells you whether you're great or whether you're mediocre. And that's what we need to find out from Anthony Joshua. Is Anthony Joshua the great champion, potentially the great champion that all the AJ fans believe he is, Eddie Hearn believes he is, that he can build his legend and his legacy? Or is Anthony Joshua another Frank Bruno? No disrespect to Bruno, I loved Bruno when I was a kid, but you know what I mean when I say that. Is AJ another Frank Bruno? Like I said, you can always come back from a loss, and that could change. This could be a good thing for him. You never know. This could be a good thing, a wake-up call. Like, come on, people have been people have been blowing smoke up your ass for so many years. It's time to wake up to your frailties and your vulnerabilities and fix them. You know, this could be that wake-up call. You look at Lewis. Here's another name who lost. You know, Lewis lost to McCall and to Rahman. You know, you look at Mike Tyson against Buster Douglas. You know, all these things, they happen. But it's about how you come back from it. And it'll be interesting to see how AJ comes back for it. Has he got that mentality to come back from it? Or has he not? I can't say yes or no to any of those things. You know, we will only find out in the next few months and at the latter point of this year. You know, I think he definitely needs to take that rematch. But not only that, it's not only that he needs to take that rematch, I feel he needs to have the rematch in America. Because going home to your comfort zone and fighting in the UK in front of 90,000 at Wembley is not going to help the situation. If it was because the pressure was too much, he couldn't handle going to America and all that sort of stuff, then that's where he needs to go. He needs to face his fear. Yeah, and take it head on. And so, therefore, he needs to go back to America and fight Andy Ruiz, you know, back in America. And do it right this time. And prove everyone wrong. That's how you prove everyone wrong. Taking Ruiz to London and beating Ruiz, for example, in the UK, just proves that, what I've already been saying, that you're only comfortable at home. You know? You haven't shown whether you've overcome those insecurities and that lack of confidence and belief you have in yourself when you're travelling away from home. That's the way it looks like to me. Look, I think I've said enough. Great night of boxing. Congratulations to Andy Ruiz. You know, the new unified heavyweight champion of the world. A real rocky moment in boxing. Love it. How can people, you know, how can you not be romantic about boxing when you see something like this happen? You know, with Andy Ruiz. You know, absolute champion. Yeah. I heard he got a sponsorship from Snickers as well, didn't he? he had a sponsorship from Snickers or something like that. You know what? Shout out to him. I like Andy Ruiz a lot. But look, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the rematch if the rematch takes place. Like I said, as always, guys, let me know what your thoughts were, of course, of the fight. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, this is Cypherbox reminding you to keep it real.